I'm going to throw you off a little bit, just see how grounded and centered you are. So, is there someone in your life that you would consider emotional? And is there someone in your life that is emotionally intelligent? Is it the same person? I suspect not. How come? What's the difference? So now, how about someone who is spiritual in your life? And what about someone who's spiritually intelligent? Well, what's that anyway? So much like being emotional is not the same as being emotionally intelligent, being spiritually intelligent is not the same as being spiritual. So what is being spiritually intelligent? So let's look at a quick definition. So SI, spiritual intelligence, is the ability to draw on and embody spiritual resources and qualities hailed by all of the world's spiritual and wisdom traditions to help functioning and well-being in daily life. So what are these qualities that we are considering spiritual or that are hailed by all the world's traditions? So these would be things like passionate purpose, compassionate service, trust, integrity, egolessness, intuition, higher self. What is exciting for me is that these qualities, these emerged as universal across all the world's traditions. In my research interviews with 71 teachers and leaders that were nominated by their peers for the embodiment of spirituality in daily life, people who walk the talk. So far, I'm talking about these qualities, and there are 22 of them in total, and we'll describe them in more detail. But is there, and then they cluster around 5 domains, but is there an underlying unified force that is common to all of these? And, just like in other forms of intelligence, in IQ, it's a single construct, but it consists of many forms like verbal IQ, comprehensional, spatial reasoning, mathematical, logical, etc. But they all combine into what we call IQ. So in spiritual intelligence, we have these 22 qualities, and they cluster around 5 domains. But again, is there a unifying theme? And so let's first look at the root word spiritual, and it comes from the Latin of spiritus, which means the animating breath or force of life. So in that regard, spiritual intelligence would be the highest and most intelligent application and use of that force, our life force. And in fact, these qualities that I listed naturally arise when we are able to connect with and root ourselves in this sacred force and spark of life. So let's expand our definition of spiritual intelligence to include this notion of being the fullest expression of our life force. And so when we are rooted in our spirit essence, in this life force, we are interconnected, and ultra-connected. We're connected to ourselves, connected to others who share in the same essence and life force, and ultimately connected to the sacred and transcendent dimension of life, all of life. And from that place, purpose, service, egolessness, integrity, and so on, all the qualities I mentioned, would naturally arise. So, to help distinguish spiritual intelligence from being spiritual, I want to be clear that SI, or spiritual intelligence, is not a spiritual belief, like a belief in God or the immortality of the soul or belief in our oneness. And nor is it an experience, a momentary experience of oneness, or the experience of communicating with angels or receiving divine guidance or whatever. These may all be involved in one's spiritual experience, belief system, and worldview, and they may be important contributors. But what spiritual intelligence cares about is the ability to draw on the spiritual resources and then the embodiment of certain resources. So it's nice to experience our oneness during meditation or a walk in the forest, but how do we behave on the freeway or in line in the supermarket? How do our spiritual beliefs and experiences pervade and get integrated into our daily life? Because how we draw and express, basically, how do we draw on and express these spiritual resources and daily qualities and qualities in daily life? So in this way, SI, or spiritual intelligence, is analogous to emotional intelligence, which is defined as the ability to draw on emotional resources and information to help manage our own and others' emotions. Emotional intelligence was first conceptualized by two academicians, Salovey and Meyer, that defined the concept and developed a measurement framework to operationalize and study it. This was in 1990, and it was later popularized by Daniel Goleman in his 1995 book by that name. And since then, there's been an abundant set of models and varying definitions with research on its benefits, showing that it contributes to many domains in life. And as a result, it has entered the current zeitgeist, and most people know and are interested in this concept. So my vision, and I hope with your collective help, that we would have the same awareness and recognition of spiritual intelligence and its importance and value in our culture, in our society, in our world in the next 10 to 15 years. So I hope you will join me in that vision and aspiration and bring your life force to contribute to that. So as I mentioned, the qualities and this notion of spiritual intelligence being universal emerged out of interviews with 71 spiritual teachers across the world's traditions. And these 22 qualities emerged as universal, regardless of our theology, cosmology, or metaphysics. Compassion, service, integrity, humility, gratitude are just as valuable to a Buddhist, to a Christian, to a Muslim, a Hindu, a Jew, a Taoist, or a shamanic person. And these 22 qualities clustered around 5 domains. And the 5 domains here are meaning, grace, truth, consciousness, and transcendence. I'm not sure I hope you can see that slide. So, okay, yeah, thank you. So let's take, for example, the domain of meaning. I hope you can read this slide. It's a little packed, so the font is a little small. But the meaning domain relates to having a sense of purpose and a call for service. Or, for example, the consciousness domain includes 4 capacities. One of synthesis, which is going beyond either or thinking to an both and. A holism, looking at situation from an inclusive systems perspective. And mindfulness, which means being present and able to pay attention to our thoughts, feelings, bodily sensations, and more, things like dreams and the unconscious. And then intuition is the ability to access nonlinear and non-rational modes of knowing. So I'm not going to detail all 22, but I just wanted to highlight that they relate to these 5 main domains or themes, and then they break out. And if you have taken the spiritual intelligence assessment on the Intelligency website, either the basic or the comprehensive, then you got a report that highlighted your strengths and opportunities along these 5 domains and these 22 qualities. So I just mentioned this integrated spiritual intelligence scale, which is goes by the acronym ISIS, which is not to be confused with the terrorist organization. We developed this acronym when I did this research with my collaborator, Christopher Dreyer, but that was before ISIS was out there as something to contend with. I think ISIS is also the name of an Egyptian goddess, so for those of you who are interested in that. But anyway, the Intelligency site that we are operating under the umbrella of provides the assessments that people could take either for free or paid. There's the basic, and then there's the more comprehensive, and then there's tips for developments. And the point of these assessments is to help people identify their profile of strengths and opportunities for further growth and development. And it is less intended for people to compare themselves to other. And as I mentioned, like any other form of intelligence, like IQ, it's a multifaceted construct. And with emotional intelligence, it's also usually four basic elements: awareness and regulation of self-emotion, awareness of regulation of others' emotions. So it's a 2x2 in emotional intelligence, although other models add other aspects. And I should just mention that emotional intelligence and spiritual intelligence have been found to have a small to moderate correlation in my research in others, which only makes sense because spiritual intelligence relates to connecting to ourselves, so involves self-awareness, self-knowledge, and emotional intelligence involves awareness of one's emotions. So at least at some level, the two overlap, but there are capacities that relate squarely to emotional intelligence and others that relate squarely to spiritual intelligence. So the ISIS that I co-developed that I mentioned with Christopher Dreyer is the first academically validated measure of spiritual intelligence, which has since been translated into over a half dozen languages and validated by other researchers. And it's been shown to contribute to a variety of positive outcomes like satisfaction with life, quality of life, resilience, mental health, job satisfaction, work performance, organizational performance, leadership, and then experiences of awe. So these are all based on the ISIS. As I mentioned, there's been other models and measures of spiritual intelligence that have been developed by other researchers since then. And overall, there's a very exciting, ever-growing body of research. My own research has now received over 1,000 academic citations. So it's getting more visibility, more popularity. And I think that's important in making it real and bringing it more into the forefront of our culture. But the bottom line here is that there's this ever-growing body of research that shows that spiritual intelligence is real, is measurable, and is positively impactful. So enough on this heady stuff. Not that it's more important. We need to get our mind to understand what we're talking about. That's important. But spiritual intelligence is not just cognitive, but it's important to understand that what we're talking about is not just woo-woo. There's a solid body of science behind all of that. So let's actually shift gears a little bit and drop down from our head. Maybe we can drop into our hearts and do a little experiential. So you can tune into your heart, your wherever inside. If you feel comfortable, wish you can close your eyes and feel into this desire, this motivation, this aspiration, perhaps to develop your spiritual intelligence, or you're not familiar with spiritual intelligence, but you just like to live a more fulfilled and inspired life, a life that's full of passion, purpose, connection, and sense of empowerment, beauty, and joy, or whatever it is that you aspire to in your future self. So tuning in, what does this desire, this yearning, or this wish feel like? Just feel into this wish, this desire, this yearning. And is it centered or focused or emerging out of a particular part of the body, or is it kind of everywhere? And if you look and sense there, what do you experience? What is happening to your energy and sense of aliveness as you feel into this desire, this wish? So just take a moment and connect and breathe into this desire, this aspiration, feeling this motivation. It might be experienced as a pull or a call, or however you experience it. And can you trace it to its source? Beyond the idea that's coming out of your mind, is there some other part of your being that's involved? Where is it arising from, and what do you experience there? So as you stay with it, continuing to touch it with your awareness and your breath, what's that like to be connected and touch that? And as you continue to feel, sense, and breathe into it, include and add your feet and your legs, letting Mother Earth support you in feeling it and being as you are. And what's that like now? So a couple more breaths, and you can allow your eyes to open and perhaps type into the chat a few words about your experience of connecting with this uh, wish, this desire, this aspiration. Heart feels open and enlivened. Anybody else willing to share? Feel connected and energized. Feel the desire to bring this important work into the world for our future generations. Awesome. Feels light and positive yearning to be of service. Yes. Yeah, we're here to serve, being a channel of light. So it's good to feel the light that we're blessed with and then radiating it out to shine the path for ourselves and everyone else. Okay. In loving service to humanity. Yes, beautiful. Great curiosity and possibility that was more of a floating sensation at first. As you said, legs, I felt more grounded, became more embodied contribution. Yeah, so it's so good to notice that we can kind of feel spiritual and expanded and and not identified with the body, and that could be freeing, but getting grounded and rooted, so embodied, so we can bring it into expression on this earth. So this is kind of what I talk about, merging heaven and earth and bringing the light, bringing the life force from Mother Earth, from the sky above, and then um, radiating it out to support life, to enhance life for ourselves, for the web of life we're just embedded in, and the cell we're in as a cell of this cosmic web of life, or Mother Gaia, and then radiating that light. Okay, so let's move on here to talk a little bit about the logistical details of our training, and why you might want to join it. So first of all, I want to emphasize that this is an experiential program. And part of it will hopefully support the awakening and cultivation of your own spiritual intelligence. I trust and assume that each of you is involved in some way in coaching or therapy or some way of working with people one-on-one. So I hope that by participating in this program and developing your own SI, being familiar with the tool and getting certified, you can use that as part of your toolkit and differentiate your coaching practice from others. And it would help you deepen your work and relationships with your clients. And I hope that you will join our community of coaches and ongoing support that we're all sharing in this vision and this mission of spreading this notion of spiritual intelligence, awakening more spiritual intelligence in our planet, which I think is so crucial at this time. So it's nice to be part of a community of people that share that vision and that sense of purpose. So what are the requirements to join? And the logistical piece first. Okay, so if you've looked at the website, the Intelligency website, maybe you've seen this, but I'm just going to review it. There are 6 Sundays involving 3-hour sessions starting in middle September, happening every other week. So I think it goes till the beginning of November for these 6 sessions. We ask that you attend 5 of the 6 in person, or as many as you can, hopefully all of them. But if you can't, for some reason, it will be recorded and you can watch the one you missed. Part of the program involves utilizing the self-assessment, and then you will give and receive a coaching session during the program. So you will use your own assessment, and then somebody else in the program will coach you based on your assessment, and then you will coach someone else on their assessment. So we'll give you a practice run and a flavor of how the tool can be used to help people. And so there's a self-assessment, and then we also support this notion of a 360 assessment where people invite people that are close to them. It could be at work or in their private life to get feedback from others on those same questions. And then people could see whether their self-perception, how it lines up with how others experience them. And sometimes we find pleasant surprises. We may not feel we're so compassionate, but other people say, no, so-and-so is very compassionate. On the other hand, we might think we're very joyful and so on, and others may not feel like we are. So it's good to discover if we have any blind spots or have pleasant surprises. And it's part of what can support our growth, and always use our strength to build on them to address the things that we need to work on. So this isn't to judge ourselves or beat ourselves up that we're not perfect. So there's always room for improvement, for more spiritual intelligence. Certainly I experienced that in myself. So I think that's part of the fun and the journey and growth of life. There's more learning and more opportunities. So thanks, Pauline, putting out the dates on the chat here. So what are the requirements? We're asking that you read my book, Spiritually Intelligent Leadership, How to Inspire by Being Inspired. Even though it's focused on leadership, it really goes through all the domains and all the qualities, and there are self-guided exercises and quotes from my research. So I hope you'll find it useful. It may be a lot to read, but at least you could skim it or do the exercise, get a flavor for it. I think it would help and support you in this work. As I mentioned, we're asking that you'll attend 5 of the 6 and watch or listen to the one you missed. Um, Complete the SI self-assessment before our first meeting. And during the training, you will give and receive one SI coaching session. And then during the training, also complete the SI 360. And then you'll give and receive one of the SI 360 coaching sessions, which is a little more involved than just the individual self-assessment, but it's a powerful tool, especially for people in their work environment. So those are the requirements of what's involved. And now yes, there's that money thing. So let's talk money. Let's talk Turkey, as they say. Money, money makes the world go round, the world go round. So, hopefully everyone that has registered for this event has gotten $100 off voucher code in your email. And so check your inbox, and and everybody that's here live, we have an extra gift for you, which is another $100 off for attending this. So combined, you could use both codes to get $200 off on the registration price. So the list price for the coaching and certification is $1,950. There's an early bird, which is through the end of the month. So we have a couple more days. And then if you use both of the voucher codes, then it goes down to $1,550. If you have a friend that might be interested, then you could register the 2 of you together. And then for 2 people, it's $2,950. And again, there's the early bird and the discount. Now, if any of you has financial difficulty, hardship, you can't afford this, we want to make this available and work with you so we can arrange for a payment plan, so you can extend it for cash flow. And if you need some scholarship or something, we're also happy to work with you on that. So I think that is we're going to open it up for questions, but before we do, I want to introduce a couple other people here on our team. So first is Louis, and Louis is the co-founder with me on the Intelligency website. He's the one who's managing the website, managed the development team, and really made it a reality. And Louis, you could talk some about yourself, but Louis was also involved in another spiritual intelligence assessment tool before.
Yes, Yossi. Hi, everybody. So I'm Luis. I'm living in Lisbon, Portugal. 10 years ago, I certified with another person, Cindy Wigglesworth, on the SQ21 assessment tool on spiritual intelligence. But the tool, when I try to deliver in Portugal, it's only available in English, the report. So since 2016, I started working with Yossi, and we were able to make Intelligency reality, where you can find not only the assessment, different assessments for life, more spiritual, and work with a more work-safe language. Also, you have the self-assessment and the 360, and there's also a free version. And also there's lots of research, and research of the Yossi is open, so you can read his PhD and you can research on that. So I found it as other advantage and benefits regarding the tool that I certified before. And since then, I'm mainly delivering trainings and coaching here in Portugal. I also have already traveled to Brazil to deliver some trainings. And I already use this content to deliver training for more than 600 people. And it's very useful and it's very good. And basically here I'm excited to be able to, with the Yosi, being able to certify other coaches that feel empowered and ready to also continue to spread and use spiritual intelligence throughout the world.
Great, thank you, Louis. So Louis will be involved in the program and with me and supporting you. And then as is Pauline. Pauline is my tech lead for the Awakening SI efforts, the monthly gatherings, and she's also going to be attending, I believe, to get certified and also help manage the meetings and all the technology associated. So, Pauline, you want to say a few words about yourself?
First, I'll just say I'm very excited to be involved. This work is so meaningful, and I'm very excited to help share it with the world. I'm personally a coach in body-mind wellness, and I use the nervous system as a lens to help people connect more with themselves and with their hearts, especially. Just delighted to be here with everybody and look forward to getting to know you all in this coaching journey.
Yeah, and Pauline is a dedicated spiritual practitioner I've attended some retreats with you, Pauline. So it's been a delight to work with you. And so yeah. Okay. Well, thank you both. And let's open it up to anybody who has questions and comments and reactions, contemplations, um, or anything else. Yeah. Liz, I see your hand. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, Yossi, and each of you. It's good to be with you. I'm Liz, and I am a current student of Linda Lantieri, who I hear you have connected with recently, Yossi, about her. She's one of my professors at Teachers College, and I'm under her supervision for um, my independent project right now as I go into my second year of my master's program in the spirituality, mind, body master's program there. And one of my focuses is wanting to focus on spiritual intelligence. So here we are.
Oh, you have my book. All right. I'm
Yeah, I
honored.
already have it. Yeah. Um,
So
I'm curious.
any good things you could say about it? No, I'm just kidding. You could say I'll
Well, I'm actually in a class right now as well, focused on hope,
uh-huh.
and I'm curious, seeing so this isn't specific about the training yet, but just the different domains and competencies and how I notice hope is not ever mentioned within there. And hope, I guess, what did you learn about hope and spiritual intelligence in your work so far?
Well, hope I think is certainly an important dimension. So it's actually falls under the umbrella of trust. So you'll see certain qualities that we might uh, be talking about, but they really are not called out. So these things are clustered into their themes, and if you have basic trust, then you know. If you have trust in yourself, trust in life, trust, then you have a positive, optimistic. And actually, if you read the chapter on trust, there are quotes from some of the participants that explicitly talk about hope. For example, we know that in medical procedures or people going through certain medical challenges, the hope that people have has tremendously positive outcomes, and it can explain, has many benefits. And obviously, if you're in leadership, you have to believe that what you're doing is gonna have a good chance of manifesting. Otherwise, things are going to be futile. But I choose to look at it a little more broadly and call it trust and not just hope. So hope tends to be thought of hope for a specific outcome, but trust is like you know, a more basic belief that even if that particular outcome doesn't manifest, something else good is gonna manifest. So it's a broader notion of hope. I hope I'm answering your question.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Good. Well,
Anybody else?
Yeah, I have a couple questions.
Please, Jonathan. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah. So I saw that you had two tiers, and one was more of a leadership coach training, and I haven't heard you talk about that. So I was curious to hear what that's about, how this training differentiates from that, what that does.
Okay, yeah. So the Intelligency website has both, has a assessment tools for spiritual intelligence on its own, and then there's what I call spiritually intelligent leadership that looks at the spiritual intelligence, but through the lens of leadership. And in this training, we're focusing on spiritual intelligence, getting certified, and in a future we will offer training on spiritually intelligent leadership. But the requirement is going to be that first someone completed the spiritual intelligence, because that is the foundation. And the spiritually intelligent coaching is going to be a smaller program. It's going to cost less, because once you have gotten the basis of these qualities, be they hope or trust, that's gonna be the foundation for those same qualities in leadership. So I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah, no, I assumed that was going to be the case, but I was, part of my interest is because like right now I do a lot of, my focus is public speaking and leadership presence coaching, and I do a lot of deeper spiritual work with clients, and it looks like this would flush it out in a different way, which is super cool. One of the things that I am looking at ultimately is how do I find the right like executive clients who are going to be more interested in this spiritual, or how to find them, how to know who's appropriate. And I'm curious, just within your own coaching expertise, of what you found, and if you could speak to how you experience that and work with it.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I know early on in my coaching practice, I was very reticent and shy to talk about spirituality, because, I was working with people in business and like, okay, what's the bottom line? And all this spiritual stuff can sound woo-woo and so on. But what I discovered is to meet people where they are, instead of necessarily starting out by saying, "Oh, I'm going to teach you spiritual intelligence." Even is like, okay, they come in with a problem, and then connecting them into their experience, their lived experience, their life force, and however they experience, and then opening up, they find the resources themselves. So you can, if you read the book, I don't know if you looked at the book, there are many case studies where people are just coming in with different challenges and fears and whatever, like having to deal with layoff, being laid off, having to raise funding, being out of funding, etc., for their business. And these are very common daily challenges. So but the idea is to turn people's attention inward to help them find the resources and their answers within themselves. And then as they do that, they start to open up. Because, when we're looking for our power and our strength, our inspiration outside, we're weakening ourselves. We can't find our power anywhere except in ourselves. So, but over time, people are then start to see, oh yeah, turning my attention inward, connecting with my breath, feeling my feet on the ground, feeling my heart actually helps me with these challenges. And then what is that? Then I could start to explain more in the background. Oh, there's research that leaders that have scored higher on spiritual intelligence actually lead organizations with better financial results. So, you could start showing that this actually is not just woo-woo stuff. It actually pays to the bottom line. And
Got it. So it's less about finding clients with a spiritual inclination as opposed to helping them realize that this framework will help them with the problems that they have.
yeah, and over time, people will migrate to you and gravitate to you if you put on your website or whatever that you also, you know, are certified with spiritual intelligence. Then some people say, "Oh, that's interesting," and some people may say, "Oh, you know." I don't really care about that, but what I care about is Jonathan's ability to help me develop my presence. And okay, but when you think about what is presence, presence, is is being present in the moment, and being clear with your attention and intention and sense of purpose, and then having a grounded set of confidence and centeredness, and
That's
following
how
your
I teach it. Yeah.
yeah, and then you follow your inner directedness. Now, everything I just said is one of the qualities of spiritual intelligence. Attention, intention, ground, centeredness, passion, purpose. That's what gives you your presence. The sense of confidence that comes from inner wholeness, where we're comfortable in our own skin and feel free to be ourselves, our unique self. If I'm trying to be somebody else, I mean, I'm divided, I'm disempowered, and people are not going to be inspired.
Cool. And yeah, definitely. That's totally my approach. So it's in alignment. And then if I, let's say next week or something, if it didn't happen in the next day or two, found someone who I thought would love this and wants to register with me, would it be possible to revert to the 2-person price?
Yeah, I think we'd be happy to do that. So yeah, if certainly want to incentivize you to bring more people into the fold. So
Yeah.
so
Okay. Yeah, this is great. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
yeah, thank you. Any other questions, comments?
Hi, it's Anita.
Yeah.
I've already had the pleasure of having a one-on-one with Lewis, so I'm excited about this opportunity. I think Jonathan has already asked a couple of my questions, but I'm thinking, because I'm a certified coach and I'm also certified in leading Dr. Brene Brown's work on shame and courage and vulnerability and trust and all the wonderful things that you've been talking about. So I'm just curious as to how this spiritual intelligence work, because I do a lot of work with in leadership and executive coaching, as well as facilitate workshops around topics. How would spiritual intelligence, just layering that in, how would that benefit me in the work that I'm currently doing?
Geez, I'm not sure I can completely answer. I mean, it sounds like you have a variety of tools, and I think that's awesome. Working with shame and vulnerability. I mean, I have a whole essay about shame and no shame in shame. You're welcome to check it out on my website. So that is so important for sure. I think the way it helps is that doing the assessment, both individual and 360, and using that as a framework can help, to make it more tangible for people. And as people start to discover their strengths, and then, interviewing them about, how else can you leverage this strength, and how can you apply it to these other things? So it's just it creates an outline, a framework for conversation, and a map through the territory. So I think it's an overarching map that can be helpful in navigating these different qualities, and they all, but as you work with each of them, then it connects people more and more deeply into their sacred spark of life, their life force. And then from that, So it's kind of a dialectical process of working on the individual qualities and then using that to deepen that inner connection into our life force. And then as the deeper we are, then these other qualities naturally emerge and deepen. So I don't know if I'm answering you, but
No, no, this is good. Yeah, because one of the assessments I do in my work is armored leadership versus daring leadership. So it's all about, developing the inner leader. And so I can see how the 360 could be an additional tool to use to complement that kind of coaching and development. So thank you, Yossi.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, there's not just one way, we're all of us are in this together. And sounds like you have a variety of other tools. I would not want to suggest that this would replace them. I would just hope that if it's of benefit to you and your clients, that you can add that, and depending on the context and the person. But the only way to really know is to experiment with it and see how it is.
And I've been looking for something like this because the two big loves of my life are spirituality and leadership. And I've been looking to see how can I marry the two. Even though still there are people who think of, this work as soft skills or woo-woo, as you said earlier. I really do see a huge need for this going forward, especially with, AI taking over and all of that. We're losing touch with the human aspect and the spirit behind the human aspect. So I see that as a huge need in the future. And I want to be able to be one of the pioneers of
Yeah, that's awesome. Man, just on to your point about spirituality and leadership. So I remember from one of my early Harvard Business School cases when I did that over a year and a half ago. No, it's I'm a lot older than that. But one of the first things was this classical Harvard Business Review article about managers and leaders. Are they the same or different? And the whole point was, what is leadership? Leaders are people who inspire people. And what is inspire? What is the shared root of that is spirit. So leaders breathe life and purpose and passion into the organization, and they align people and create cohesion and unity. So if you just listen to the role of leader, in terms of inspiration, in terms of alignment, in terms of unifying people around the community, then it should be semantically more clear why spirituality and spiritual intelligence contributes to leadership.
Absolutely.
But again, it's not a belief in God or angels or whatever. It's like, having a passionate sense of purpose and, all the research, the Bain & Company is one of the top management consultant companies in the world, did a study with like 2,000 companies, and they identified 33 qualities that lead to leaders being inspiring. And what they found is that employees that are inspired are twice as productive as regular employees. And what were the qualities that these leaders embodied? Were centeredness, service, listening, and purpose and vision. So these are all the same qualities that I'm talking about in spiritual intelligence and spiritually intelligent leadership. So the research is now becoming more and more mainstream that this is what we need. And there are Harvard Business Review articles that talk about, what people look from their leaders is the ability to listen, to empathize, and that's what creates the bond and the trust. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm a firm believer. I always say you have to be a product of the product. Like, in order to inspire, you have to be an inspiration yourself, because we're energetic beings. We pick up on each other's energy. So I can teach from a book, but who I am and how I live is what people respond to the most.
yeah, well, that's the whole theme of my book. how to inspire by being inspired. We can't inspire anybody else unless and when we are inspired. So, and
Thank
as
you.
you say, we have a vibration, we have a frequency, and people tune into that.
Thank you. I don't want to hug up all the time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any other questions?
Josie, may I add up something?
Yeah, please.
So regarding to the Anita question first, I think the main difference from what I see, and for instance, I think 2-3 years ago, I had a client that asked me, but what is the difference between spiritual intelligence capabilities and positive psychology? Because there are some overlapping. And from my perspective, is the spiritual dimension, is the spiritual intelligence, emotional intelligence draw from emotions. Spiritual intelligence sees the human being as a spiritual being. No matter what you believe, what is your belief system, but there's a different dimension. There's a different kind of language, a different kind of conversation that we are having, that the other leadership models, most of them do not include that spiritual dimension. I'm not saying that they are not very good. I really enjoy Brené Brown and the vulnerability she has, and lots of other leadership models, but most of them do not include that spiritual dimension that spiritual intelligence brings. To Jonathan, my experience to get customers that resonates with spiritual intelligence, and I acknowledge, I think that we are acting in different markets. I'm here in Portugal, in Europe. Usually when I search for clients and for companies that on the LinkedIn and the website as something related with well-being, with happiness of the employees, I think they are prepared to have other kind of talk. If they are not noticing that, so it's a company focusing on results, on shareholders, not stakeholders, and so they are focusing on profit. And as we know that the company as a living being does not grow above the conscious level of the leader, if the leader is focused only on profit, and we need profits, I know, but that's the main goal. Probably, as Josie mentioned, you can have a talk on coaching as per se, as a normal coaching, and suddenly maybe the spiritual challenge arise and you can introduce. But if you want to have like a conversation on spiritual intelligence, on leadership, on spiritual intelligent leadership, and something like that, if you focus on companies that have already, for instance, a chief happiness officer, well-being initiatives, something like that could be a good fit for, because probably when there's the human resources is focusing on well-being, on happiness and so on, they are more aware of that. And sometimes they are also publish that they are running mindfulness programs inside. They have yoga or meditation. And when you arrive, usually what I say is, well, you are already developing spiritual intelligence, but you don't know. When you are doing the mindfulness programs, this is the capability. When you are doing the yoga programs, this is the capability. So do you want to develop everything, or do you want to know how that fits in the overall map? And then I introduced the map that Yosi showed, the capabilities. And for instance, one of the capabilities is purpose. Almost all coaches I know talk about purpose, purpose in career, purpose in life. So they are already developing some of these skills, some of these capabilities without knowing them. And so spiritual intelligence, the name is maybe, the concept may be new for them, but they are already developing this. So I hope that helps.
Thanks, Louis. That's a good point. Yeah. Good practical. Somebody who's on the ground marketing this. I've had the privilege, I have more people coming to me than I know what to do with. So I'll be happy to send them your ways.
I see we're at the end of our meeting time for today. Where should we go if we have any questions, Yossi?
Well, send us an email, and we'd be happy to answer. And yeah, I'm excited to feel the energy of and the interest here. So yeah, thanks for putting that info at Intelligency. You could
Yeah, in the last 30 seconds of the session, one question that other people has asked me, if after the training we'll have some kind of community that could help you in taking this to the market. Yes, it is our purpose to have gatherings. Right now, Yossi and Pauline are organizing the Awakening SI once a month for general people, but we plan to organize something specific for coach. Probably will not be once a month, maybe once every 2 months or once per quarter, but we are here available to help you on one-on-one. So for instance, I have already delivered these on trainings on the banks. For instance, on Santander Bank, I deliver already this program a few times, so I can help anyone deliver the trainings. We don't have a curriculum, so you can deliver this as a training for your clients, but we'll be help you, and I have already lots of material, so we can help you. So if you need,
Yeah,
you just
Louis has used this as a package to companies with
yeah,
dozens.
sometimes it's easier, at least here in Europe, we have to deliver, to give to each employee a certain amount of hours of training per year. So the budget in companies for training, it's much higher than the budget for coaching. And so for me, it's easier to try selling this as a training program, a leadership training program. And also, I think it's beneficial for them. For instance, last time I delivered this on a bank, there were 12 people, and so it's a training to explain the skill, but then the exercise are more coaching oriented, and so they have the possibility to experience the capability. They talk to each other, they influence to each other, and they also learn from each other because they have already lots of experience. And so deliver these on a group, I find also very rich and enjoyable. And so sometimes it will be easier to deliver this as a group than on one-on-one, for instance. So it's possible to do both.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. It's great to hear your voices and your presence and your interest. And we need more of us to tune into this and be these Wi-Fi extenders to carry out the signal to different parts of our world. So again, thank you. And those of you for this resonates, would love to have you in our program.
Thank you, Yossi.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you next time.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.